Okay, I think we are live. Just wanted to share with you guys really quick a little bit about some of the process here for some of the skin tones and trying to go live on a few platforms. So I'm wanting to work my way down the side plane of the nose and top part of the cheek right here. And I've already got Herculaneum was one of the colors I've been using, and Herculaneum in Luminance, which is 068, and another big key player here in this particular palette was Burnt Ochre 10%, which is 872. So I'm gonna grab my Herculaneum and work my way down the top part of this cheek. With this lighting situation, we've got just a very subtle, darker spot right here on the top part of the cheek because the lighting is mostly hitting the side plane of the head, which I love having lighting that is just not so typical or classic when you're thinking about just portraits in particular. I like having some alternate lighting scenarios where you're hitting the subject from a slightly different angle than what you may typically expect. It just shows off the form just that much more. Using an incredibly sharp pencil here because I'm wanting to go on top of this dark indigo in Polychromos. That's what I started out with, was dark indigo and Polychromos for my grisaille. That initial laydown of value. Now, why do I use dark indigo? It's a question I get often, and I don't always use it, but I am often using dark indigo and Polychromos. And really, the reason for that is it's more of a neutral kind of pencil. It's not just this bright, brilliant blue. So it's number 157 in Polychromos if you're interested in taking a look at it. If you're a colored pencil enthusiast, then you probably already are familiar with that pencil. Okay, I'm going to sharpen that up. I want to make sure I maintain an incredibly sharp point on that pencil. I love this particular pose on my model here. I think it's just intense, and this is something I really liked about this pose. It was pretty awesome just to see, um, an intense stare like that. Again, that's just something that, um, it's not a typical say cheese pose, which is what, I wanted. So let me look at this area right here. If I come inside the nasolabial fold down here and I make sure that I can clearly identify where that separation is between the cheek and the mouth. Even though it'll be so blurred by the time we're done, if I can make the determination of where it is right now, then that's going to help me. At least it will help my mind to kind of figure out, what's going on. Well, we were streaming over there on Instagram, and it looks like it may have ended. I'm not sure why. Not sure why that is. I'm just told that by my software here. Let's see. Well, we're going to keep on going because we are streaming on Facebook and YouTube as well. I like doing live streams once in a while just to give a sense of just how much work is actually involved and how much time there is involved in this process. It's not something that just happens overnight, and we get that impression once in a while. I used to. I would get that impression when I would watch sped up YouTube videos, and I would think, wow, it must be fast. I knew it wasn't, but in our minds, sometimes that's the impression that we get, even if we know that, it's sped up, it still kind of makes us feel like it's faster than what it really is. I'm going to keep moving that down a little bit, but I want to come right inside here, switching my pencil to burnt ochre 10%, and just make that slightly lighter right there. And then on the edge of this little passage that I created, I want to use this burnt ochre 10% just to create more of that subtle gradient over into this darker area. I'll do the same thing over here. This is not the typical way that I work. This was actually done as a tutorial. So I was only working on the eye as a tutorial, and I went ahead and drew it to near completion. And then now I'm coming back and working on the rest of the drawing and using more of my process now of creating the grizzly, and then now starting to add some skin tones. It doesn't take a whole lot of the dark indigo to just establish some of those dark values and to understand the contours and the movement of the form. But now coming back and placing the skin tones in here, it's like icing on the cake. It's so rewarding and enjoyable. Move this down a little bit more, even though this is going to be slightly darker when we get um, closer to the mouth. I'm still going to add this lighter color right now. Okay, I'm going to switch over. And I'm going to grab my dark flesh, 40% or warm earth. 40% is what the name changed to. Just increase some of that dark value. We'll have to go on top with some pinks and reds as well. But I do want to deepen this just a little. Move right down here. Make that a little, add a little bit of richness to this dark tone right here. All right, better check our stream here. Make sure everything's working just fine over here on Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, it looks like we're doing good over here. I don't know why that is, but for whatever reason, sometimes I've tried testing it in the past, Instagram will just not work. So, not sure. Okay. I am gonna grab my red, so my anthraquinone carmine, and I'm gonna come right inside here and just add a little bit of red on top now. Once we get these soft wax-based pencils in here, then we'll go on top with Polychromos pencils. And it starts to give us a smoother texture on the surface. And it's just wonderful. It's such a great thing if you're patient and if you wait long enough and add these dark tones in here and some of the rough texture that you get with wax-based pencils. And then you go on top with your Polychromos pencils. Then you can start to see that skin texture develop and come to life. And it's really pretty incredible because we'll zoom in here just a little bit. The paper and the process, the technique can actually help you to create something that looks like skin texture. And I just think that's wonderful. It's so great to be able to do that just with pencils. Try to work my way down, not stay in just one spot. I like that sort of that waterfall approach of working down the face when I'm just rendering the all the layers required to build up all these pigment layers. Otherwise, it's a very direct process, right? Putting pencil on the paper. We don't have this little in between that we're using, like what oil painters may use when they're using a palette instead. We're going directly to the surface. So I'm going to grab, looking for it here, hibiscus pink. And we'll put some of that in here. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a Polychromos pencil. We'll probably just finish up with a Polychromos pencil this time. Not going to. I'm more testing how this streaming service is going to work with multi-streaming here, and we'll do some more. So if this is working well, we'll go ahead and do some more later on. But I'm going to come in here with ivory and just work on this side. Ivory is another one that's just like a staple. That's number 103 in Polychromos. But when I've got it in my hand, I'm thinking more in terms of value. And I'm just affecting the overall value right now. Not thinking about the color as much. I'm going to come right in here. This is starting to show up. And that's one thing that a light value, one of your lighter values like ivory will do, is it will start to help you to see some of the darker values underneath if there are any. Now this is just being feathered on. I mean, I'm barely touching the surface right there. So I'm going to hit this from a different direction. There we go. Now we've got this little area right here. I'm going to make sure that's slightly lighter right there. Okay. I want to come in here. I want to make sure there's a distinction here between where this little mouth rhythm is. If you think about how maybe Frank Riley would have characterized this particular part of the face. Don't want to go down too far, but I do want to create a gradient, fade away from that area. I'll come back up, increase my pressure just slightly. I'm careful, though, not to burnish at this point. I need to think about this overall hierarchy of values and colors, but I want this to be a localized area for darker values. And right up here, obviously, that needs to be darker, right next to that tier pad. So let's grab my red one more time. A little more red in here. Yeah, that overall, look and texture that we've got on the surface right now is, very rough, so that's not what we're going to end up with by the time we're done, but I have to, live with that for a little bit because that's just the way it's going to look for a little while, so alright, if you were able to join or watch the replay, I appreciate you, hanging out with me, and I'm gonna go ahead and stop now. I'll try to do this a little more often, and, we'll figure out what happened with Instagram. It just stopped right away, so alright. You guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. Bye-bye.